Welcome to NFL week number 4 of the Sports Phenom Show, where you get all of my capping insight and picks on every game in under 30 minutes. No boring gibberish, only the main points that need to be said, and no commercials, just the way we like it. I am the owner of SportsBettingPhenoms.com, better known as the Phenom, World Series of Handicapping Champion. I have the only site on the planet where all of our cappers had to go through a rigorous qualifying process, all of which did so with at least a 60% record and unprecedented units of profits. Max lines of minus 150, different tier levels based on each capper's performance, where all results are fully documented from day one, and all of our packages are 100% guaranteed to profit. No one else offers what we do at more than fair pricing and results you simply can't get anywhere else. Speaking of results, not too bad for my first weeks of the season. Overall, I'm 47-29. That's 62%. They say the top sharps in the business hit around 65%, so I'm close to that. But it's the first 3 weeks. A little bit of a rough start out of the gate in week 1. That's expected. That's always the toughest week of the season. So overall, I'd say this is about so-so for me, but I'm okay. I'm happy. I expect to be much better, and I will be, as we head into the money-making weeks of the season, and that's usually week number 4 for me. I'm going to tell you why. I mean, we've had 3 weeks now to get a feel for each team, and now it's so much easier to ride the better teams all the way to the bank and fade all those other pretenders. So without further ado, let's get right to it here this week. It is NFL week number 4. First game on Thursday night, Dallas and the New York Giants. All right, so this game right off the bat to start week 4 has a get-right spot for the Cowboys written all over it. They own the Giants head-to-head, and after 2 straight home embarrassing losses, I expect them to right the ship here in this one. All they need to do is wake the hell up and get their act in order. If they can't do that against their inter-division rivals, who are one of the probably worst teams in the league, average at best, then the season is over for the Cowboys, to say the least. I think we all can agree to that. I am all over the Cowboys here. Take them to win by double digits. This was very close to being one of my money fives here this week. The Dallas Cowboys gets us off and rolling to start week 4, and I also do like them on my teaser of the week coming up at the end of the recording. Stay tuned for that. Next game, as we start the Sunday card, New Orleans at Atlanta. And right off the bat here for the Sunday card, this is one of my first of 5 Money 5 selections. This one is easy for me. I told you I don't believe in the Saints. I've been saying this since day one. Now, they had a couple good games right out of the gate. And I told you that I would become a believer if they were able to pull things off in that third game against the Eagles. Well, as we saw, that didn't happen. So now I think this is where things start showing and proving that I was right about New Orleans from the start of the season, and they're going to come back down to earth. With that in mind, the Eagles look like a team that have things going back in the right direction. But let's concentrate on this game. Atlanta now has beat the Eagles and lost to both Pittsburgh and Kansas City, who are a combined 6-0. So bottom line here, I believe in Atlanta. I believe in them a hell of a lot more than I believe in the New Orleans Saints. And the more I believe this is the game, both teams confirm what direction they're going in here this season. I just told you. Take the Falcons as my first of 5 Money 5 selections for week number 4. Next game, Pittsburgh and Indianapolis. I gave you Indy last week. Not a lot of you were crazy about taking Indy, but they got the job done. And they picked up their first win of the season by doing so against the Bears, who I told you, by the way, I've been telling you, Caleb Williams is not going to win any home games just yet. I've been right about that. He's already 0-2 on the road. And I do like Indy again here in this spot against the Steelers. Yep, against the 3-0 Steelers. It's not as much of a play on Indy as it is against the Steelers. I just can't see Fields starting the season 4-0. There has to be more pressure on him now, again on the road, especially, and with Russell Wilson right around the corner, getting better, getting healthier, and that has to be more added pressure for Fields. So I'd be shocked if he started the season 4-0. He's not an elite quarterback. I'm not even sure if he's an average quarterback. So to think he's going to start 4-0 and now against an Indy team and coming off that first big win of the season, again, it's just a play against the Steelers here in this one. I also like the under, so let's lean on Indy and the under in this one. Next game, Cleveland and Vegas. So I've been telling you all season thus far to go against Deshaun Watson after a win and go opposite after a loss. So basically, play on Cleveland after he has a bad game and play against them when he has a good game. And that's been working out great thus far in the season. Already perfect if you follow that trend. So this would make Cleveland a play on this spot. The only problem is Vegas got embarrassed at home against the 0-2 Panthers. So you got to expect them to have a better game here this week. That really makes this one a toss-up for me. If there is a lean on this game, it's going to be on the under. Next game, Jacksonville and Texas. Now, this is a division game, and going with the dog in this series has been historically big money. Problem is that Jacksonville is an absolute mess, and Houston will be looking to rebound after their first loss last week. But again, though, you have to look at the scenario here where if Jacksonville loses this one, they're going to be 0-4 to start this season. And I think Trevor Lawrence will end up losing like 8 or 9 games in a row if this is another loss for him. So he could very well be benched if he loses this game. So you got to expect this division game to, once again, probably be within a touchdown. But I just can't trust Trevor Lawrence at this point. And the line is going so high right now that I don't even know if Houston's worth a bet either. So I'll literally have to just kind of toss this one up also. Lean slightly, ever so slightly, maybe to the Jags if that line continues to climb and gets over 7. But I really have nothing else on that game. Jags ever so slightly, a small lean in that game. Next one, Minnesota and Green Bay. Wow, talk about a tough one. First one, we aren't even sure who's playing quarterback for Green Bay. If it's Willis, I do like Minnesota. And even if it's Love, quarterbacks coming off an injury usually take a game or two to kind of start firing on all cylinders once again. So how can you not lean on the Red Hot Vikings? I mean, if Love hadn't got injured and we'd be sitting at this scenario where Minnesota was 3-0 and the Green Bay's 1-2 or 2-1, I definitely would be leaning towards Green Bay. But it just makes too many question marks in this game with that Love injury and what we're going to expect from him even if he does play. Again, if it's Willis, let's slightly lean towards Minnesota, but too many unknowns here to make anything official. Next game, Cincinnati and Carolina. Wow. Talk about another interesting game. Okay, so right off the bat, this is a classic spot where everyone and their grandmother is going to jump on Andy Dalton bandwagon here after the Panthers' big win last week. Keep in mind, don't jump to conclusions here too quickly, folks. They did it against the Raiders, and we don't know still who the Raiders really are. It was their first win of the season, a big one to say the least. They came off those two terrible losses with Bryce Young under the helm. So obviously, the locker room is feeling really good under Andy Dalton. The thing is, though, that may be everyone except for me. It is a classic scenario. Andy Dalton comes in, re-inspires the troops. They get that win, and everybody's feeling good about themselves. The problem here is they have the 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals coming in who have their season on the line. So this comes down to the line that we have here. And as we see, there is Andy Dalton money coming in. And I'm not surprised about that, but I still don't necessarily really like the line where it is. I think Cincinnati should be around -3. Anything higher than that, and you got to think it might be a little bit of a trap here by Vegas to get some Cincinnati money. So, or excuse me, some Panther money. So with that in mind here, I'm going to look at the play that I think is the right one here, and that's the over. You got to expect Cincinnati to get points. You got to think Andy Dalton is going to want to get some points and do whatever he's got to do against his old team, the Cincinnati Bengals. So that makes this one a possible shootout. I'm not going to say I love it, but it is the right way to go, especially with the tough sideline on that selection. Dalton might have another decent game here, so expect points, folks. I lean towards the over. Next game, we have the LA Rams against the Chicago Bears. This is a tough one. The LA Rams are coming off a huge come-from-behind win against the 49ers. Wow, what a surprising win that was, especially coming from behind the way they did in the fourth quarter. While the Bears are coming off of 2 straight road losses, both of which I predicted. Told you Caleb Williams is not ready to get his first road win. So I told you to go against the Bears in those games, and now I'm going to tell you to go back on the Bears here in this one. It'd be easy to jump back on the Ram bandwagon after that come-from-behind win against the 49ers, but let's not forget, they are still in a scenario where they don't have Cooper Kupp. They've got some major injuries on both sides, offensive and defensive lines. So how can you really go with them in this one also? There's just nothing that would state the LA Rams are in the right spot here, especially traveling from the West Coast to the East Coast, early game, all that kind of thing. So this looks like a spot where Caleb Williams is going to get another home win. I think it's going to be close. Rams, still with what they have in their personnel, could put up a fight here, but it's a slight lean on the Bears. Next game, Denver and the New York Jets. This is going to be the second half of my teaser of the week on the Jets. As for the side in total, one thing that's been unbelievable, to say the least, to me in the first 3 weeks of the season is the lack of big favorites blowing out teams. Haven't you guys all noticed that? Especially, I think teams favored by 7 or more are 0-4 against the spread, if I'm correct. But that's going to change, folks. It's definitely not as surprising in the first 3 weeks of the season, early in the season, to see that kind of thing. But I've seen this too many years, decades of following the NFL to know these favorites are going to start blowing out teams sooner than later. Once things start coming to fruition, as I said earlier, teams that are riding high, others that are a big fake facade. This is when we're going to start taking advantage of lines that haven't been adjusted properly because Vegas doesn't want to get continually killed on these dogs that are winning, especially outright, like last week with Denver and the Giants and games like that. Some money line players are making some big money there. So, as I said, this is going to change. And if there looks to be a team that keeps getting better week after week after week and has made the most progress in the first 3 weeks of the season, I think it's the Jets. I don't care about Denver's first win last week. What did that mean? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I think this might be one of those first teams of the season laying 7 or more that are going to blow out their opponent. Take the Jets, Jets, Jets. It was very close to being a money 5 selection. Instead, it'll be on my teaser of the week along with Dallas on the Thursday nighter. I'll repeat that at the end of the recording with my money 5 selections. Next game, Philadelphia and Tampa Bay. Now this game has Philly revenge written all over it. The Bucs absolutely destroyed Philly in last year's playoff, if you remember. And with Tampa Bay coming off those first 2 big wins of the season and then back down to earth last week, along with Philly righting the ship in New Orleans after the previous Monday night debacle they had, I love Philly getting the points here in this spot. Not much more to add to it. That's what I believe here. It's just momentum. The Eagles cover and sprinkle a little on the money line. How can you not? The Eagles are better than the Bucs. Next game, Washington and Arizona. This is my money 5 total of the week. Hate the side on this game. Let's just get that out of the way. The line is perfect. Vegas got that one right on the mark. It's exactly where I have it. And picking one way or another, arguably I could get it for both sides. So with that in mind, I'm going to look at the total here. And I love the total in this game. This one has shootout written all over it. If you look at the total trends between these two teams, 8 out of the last 11 Washington games have gone over. And 5 of the last 7 Arizona games have gone over. Now you have these 2 over cashers meeting for the first time this season. And for me, it's simple. It is my money 5 best bet total of the week. Next game, another money 5 selection, New England and San Francisco. I love this game. I just got finished telling you how some of these bigger favorites of at least a touchdown or more are going to start blowing out teams. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. The dogs are not going to keep cashing these big spreads. Vegas is not going to allow it. The league's not going to allow it. And it's just not going to happen. It's simply scripted that way. That's how this sport works. This will be a San Francisco blowout of the year. They take all of their frustrations out on one of the worst teams in the league in New England. San Francisco, mark my words, will right the ship after 2 straight losses. Take San Francisco. They win by 3 touchdowns. Next game, Kansas City and the LA Chargers. Wow, there are a lot of question marks on this game. First and foremost, the injury status of Herbert. Line is almost telling us he's not playing. So that's making this one an extremely tough handicap. If Herbert was healthy, I'd probably be all over LA here in this divisional matchup. We know that when these teams get together, historically, the dog is usually the way to go, and the Chargers especially cover well against the Chiefs. You also have a spot here where Kansas City's off to a 3-0 start. They've arguably squeaked by each one of those three and could have lost all three. So what are we getting from the Kansas City Chiefs thus far this year? Not only that, they're coming off a primetime game, Kansas City is. So you got to believe this is a bit of a letdown spot. They're going to be thinking about the fact that Herbert might not even play. This is one of those games where you truly believe Kansas City should win. At least outright, right? But there's always a shocker of the week and something that's not supposed to happen. Is it the LA Chargers here this week winning outright? I mean, it wouldn't completely and utterly shock me, but it's just not a game that I'm putting my money on. So I'm just going to pass on this one. I'm trying not to pass on any games. I want to help you out as much as I can. But this one just smells rotten, folks. So I'm going to pass on that game. Next game, the Sunday night extravaganza game of the week. Man, are we not all looking forward to the red-hot Buffalo Bills against the Baltimore Ravens? I know I am, and this is yet another Money 5 selection on the Baltimore Ravens. It is very clear to me what's going to happen in this game. You have Baltimore, who righted the ship last week, finally getting that first win. And they might have taken things a little bit off the pedal in the fourth quarter. Remember, they were up 28-6 against the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. So don't let that final score scare you away. The Ravens will not take the pedal off the metal here in this one. You've got a 3-0 Bills team coming in riding on all cylinders. I will admit it. They have surprised me a little bit. I thought without Diggs this year, there might be a little bit of restructuring and gelling and chemistry that needed to take place once again in order to get things rolling, but it's been the opposite of that. They've been playing extremely well, and it's actually looked like it's worked to their advantage, and maybe Diggs was just somebody that they actually feel like they can play better without. And now Josh Allen can throw to whoever he likes. Doesn't have to have that pressure of always getting the ball to Diggs. And again, as I said, it's worked out well. But, and there's a huge but here. Who have the Bills beat thus far? The 1-2 Arizona Cardinals? The 1-2 Dolphins? And how about the 0-3 Jaguars? So let me get this straight. They've beat 3 teams with a combined 2-7 record. 2-7. All I need to know. That's it. It's as simple as that. And now you're going to come in on Baltimore, where we're getting an extremely gifted line because of the fact that they're only 1-2, and probably also because Buffalo's coming off that big win, and Baltimore let the pedal off the metal there in the fourth quarter to make that game closer with Dallas than it really was. So this is an absolute steal, folks. This is a perfect spot for the Bills to get exposed. The Ravens start rolling while sending the Bills back down to earth. I love situations like this. These are the type of games that made me a World Series NFL handicapping champion. Take it to the bank. The Baltimore Ravens to play here in this one. I will repeat my full Money 5 plays at the end of the recording. That is one of my favorite of the Money 5. Next game, Tennessee and Miami. Now, call me a glutton for punishment when it comes to the Tennessee Titans. My God. But this one, once again, is a good spot for them, and it makes me just want to pull my hair out when I think about it. As the problem is obviously Levis. He sucks. He sucks so much. I don't even know how he's starting on an NFL team. He absolutely sucks balls, in my opinion. And at best, should be a backup. Really, on my team, if I had a team, he'd be the third stringer. Added to that, the coaching staff is absolutely horrendous. The calls that they're making for this guy, they're not helping him any, that's for sure, too. So you combine those two and you have a recipe for disaster, let's face it. Then we look on the other side and we see a Miami team that probably was going to be a Super Bowl contender, but now they have no quarterback. Without Tua, it seems like they're going to have absolutely no hope. Now, they had a backup that was maybe going to be able to right the ship or cruise the ship along, let's just say, for the next few games until Tua's return. And that's if Tua does return. But that hasn't happened. So much so they had to put the third stringer in. So this game is so damn ugly that I should probably pass. But I do rely on my gut heavily. Over my 25 years plus, half of my experience has come from my gut feel of these games, watching hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of games. And my gut's telling me that we still need to, one more time, lean with Tennessee here in this one, just because of the terrible quarterback situation with Miami, the unknown there. Until Miami shows me they have a quarterback that can at least make them reasonable over the next little while, I have to lean with every other team they're going to play, especially when we're getting points. Tennessee here on this one. I also lean towards the under. Let's face it, probably not going to be a lot of points. So those are my two leans in that one. Now, we get to the final play of the weekend. By the way, that Tennessee-Miami game also on Monday night this week. They're back to the 2 Monday night games. I absolutely hate it. Whatever. It is what it is. Final game of the weekend is also my final Money 5 selection of the weekend. Seattle at Detroit. Everybody and their grandmother's betting on Seattle, not me. Detroit, my final Money 5 selection. And so here's the thing. It's easy to think Seattle, who's 3-0, getting points on a Monday nighter, is the easy play here. I get that. That's the way public looks at things, and I completely get it, especially when Detroit hasn't kicked in all cylinders, to say the least, as of yet. But who has Seattle played? The Broncos? The Patriots? And the Dolphins without Tua? Give me a break. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? Tell me. It should mean absolutely nothing. If Detroit simply plays their top game or something near to that, this is going to be an easy double-digit winner. Again, for the third time in this recording, don't forget what I told you. Big favorites are going to start crushing teams. Detroit may not be a big favorite sitting at 3.5 right now, but what did they come out at? -5? It's close to a touchdown. They're going to start beating teams when they get going here too. Detroit has a much better chance of getting somewhere this season than the Seattle Seahawks do. Mark my words. Goff, even though not at his best just yet, is a hell of a lot better quarterback than Geno Smith. Detroit wants a big showing here on Monday night on national television. They expose the Seattle Seahawks, who have played absolutely nobody. Do not get scared of all that public money. I love going against the public. They are wrong on this one. The Sharps will hit Detroit hard come game time. Mark my words. I'm one of those who's going to be there making my bets at the best line right before game time. Detroit Lions, my final Money 5 selection of the week. Now, let's get to a rundown here. Finish up this recording. My money 5 selections to repeat for week number 4. Atlanta on the money line. The Baltimore Ravens, my favorite of the 5, on the money line. San Francisco in a row, lay the 10. My money 5 total of the week. Washington and Arizona over 50. And finally, to conclude, my money 5, the Detroit Lions. Try to take that 3. If you see 3.5 out there, buy it down to 3. That's an important line in this game in case of a backdoor. If Detroit's up late by 10, Seattle gets a late touchdown, cuts that to 3. We want to, at worst, push on that game. I don't think that's even going to be in play, but just in case, better to be safe than sorry. Also, my teaser of the week, it's a 2-team 6-pointer. I mentioned it to you earlier. Take Dallas in the Thursday nighter, bring them down to even, and also take the New York Jets minus 1.5. Take them down from 7.5 down to 1.5. And my survivor pick of the week is on the New York Jets. Jets. That'll do it for week number 4 of the NFL Best Bets. I am the Phenom, wishing you all an amazing week ahead. Let's get this money. See ya.